When you look at atoms and things of that nature and what we are now, us and the walls is no different. Because we made up of the same basic element, atoms, right? But what makes that shelf different from you? What do that shelf think? Does that shelf have life in mind? No. There's no life in mind in that shelf. It doesn't think, it doesn't reason.
I just wanted to touch on this point from the original question from earlier in the class, coming from natural ether energy. Just another aspect. When we say aspect, what word do you hear or see in there? Aspect. Spect. See? This is another aspect, right? So I'm just going to read it first. 51 says, however, one can taste them, hear them, smell them. I can start from 50. So natural ether energy is neither macroscopic nor microscopic, meaning they can neither be seen, semi-seen, with the naked eyes, nor with the microscope. Notice it says naked eyes. We have higher senses as well, right? So when we deal into these senses, going into the next verse is going into the physical senses. It says, however, 51, however, one can taste them, hear them, smell them, feel them, and see them in a dream state or vision state trance induced by chanting or drugs, right? So these 5 senses that's mentioned is an illusion, right? All 5 senses are actually one sense, which is what? Touch. Which breaks down further to one called perception, right? All these senses deal with perception. So when you asked earlier about, all right, well, how can I see it if my eyes are closed? Well, one state of dreaming, you have what's called REM, R-E-M, or rapid eye movement. If you notice someone when they're sleeping, you'll see their eyes flickering, you go, oh, they're dreaming now. Or they may make a little noise, like, you know they're dreaming. You can wake them up right there and say, oh, you remember your dream now? What was you dreaming about? But you just let them sleep and let them keep going sleeping. They wake up 30 minutes after the dream and be like, I had a dream, I remember this little portion, but I forgot it. But had you woken up at that point, they can tell you more about it. But sometimes we'll just continue to sleep. Sometimes you wake yourself up from snoring. You ever wake yourself up from a snore? You snore, but damn, that was me. Snoring all loud. You wake yourself up from your own snoring. But as far as dreaming, if you experience that and wake the person up while they have that rapid eye movement, they're in a dream state, right? So now the physical eyes are closed, right, which is darkness, but you see light in this dream state because it taps into your highest senses. They always want to keep us restricted to 3, right? Right, 1, 2, 3 blind mice. What else they got? 3 pigs and everything 3, right? But
ABC, 1, 2,
ABC, 1, 2, 3. So when they ask me say ABCs, I go ABC. That's ABCs. That's 3. That's ABC. If I say ABCs, it should just be ABC, not A through Z. You see, that's part of the spell. That's the spell of 3, right? So it's dealing with perception. The senses, they keep us from 5. They're 5 P's. See, 5 senses. That's going back into their 5 P's, right? It's all a spell. But when we deal with just perception or sight, you learn that toward the end it said what? It said in a dream state or vision state trance induced by chanting or drugs, right? You have some Native American cultures that have smoke baths. You ever hear about smoke baths? They're in there smoking their pipe with whatever in it, and they go into certain dream states and they see certain visions, etc. Some people call it self-medicating, etc. But what else did it say? It also touched on chanting. So when we chant, what are we doing? We're raising vibrations when we chant. Simple chant. And children do it naturally. A lot of times, if you study children, when they're with their friends or their siblings, etc., you'll see them sitting there. One of the first ones they do is, all right, let's go. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, let's go. And then it's a unison that they catch, and that's when they start smiling and laughing because they sound as one. Then they look at each other and start smiling. But it's it could be 5, 6. Start with 2, 3, 4, and if one starts first, next one starts next. Then it's a mysterious feeling, a weird feeling you get. It's like, oh, But when it hits, it's always a laughter that follows it. Always a laughter. Children always do it. You did it as a child. But always. But it's from that A. And what is A? That ah. That ah is the tone of what? The FAC. A is the tone of what?
The body.
The body. Right? So children naturally know through their bodies that they can emit this tone of ah, which is the beginning of even Aum. Right? For Hindus, they wear it on their chains. They got their own symbol on their chains. But when we drop something simple on them that Baba Yanun gave us in the Holy Tablets and say, oh, Om, you know we all chant Om? You're like, oh no, it's Hindu. No, we don't chant Om. It's Hindu. So, oh yeah, you could be English, Chinese, from wherever on the globe. Anytime you're in search of a thought, what's her name? What's her name? And you keep that's a natural chant you're doing. Baba gave us that piece in the Holy Tablets. But try dropping that science on someone in Hinduism, and their eyes just, I did it countless times. They get a DNA explosion. Baba said when you see that, oh my, he said a new brain cell just came back to life, just reactivated. A dead brain cell just respawned, right? It came back to life. Anytime you drop that right knowledge, right? And people go, oh man, that's the that up is actually a brain cell that just came back to life. So that's power, that's energy. Because this is an energy doctrine, right? And that's why Baba said the sound of his voice. At the time when we read the books, we should hear Baba Yanun's voice, right? A language of tones, which will open a gateway when its time is needed. That gateway, in order to be open, has to be reactivated by those 3 and 1.
Can I ask you a question?
2.
Feel, hear, see, taste, and smell. Those are 5 physical senses.
That's what they taught us. But as Baba gave us, let's start with touch, right? Because that's the most since we say
I'm just asking you for a reason.
So if you ask me, I would say no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say no. Because it's just perception. Because in order to touch, of course you gotta touch. I gotta touch this to feel the texture, etc. In order to taste, the food has to touch my taste buds, right? And it's a nervous, right? Through nerves, right? That go to the brain that interpret it as, this is taste. Oh, this is bitter. Oh, this is sour. That's sweet, right? But it's a touch before you get the taste to interpret whether it's sour, bitter, etc. In order to see, light particles have to touch, right? Nerve endings, the main one being the optic nerve, right? Nerve touch. So there's light particles touching that eye to let your brain interpret this as light sight. This is sight. But it's a touch before you get the sight. It's a touch. What else? Hearing. In order to hear, sound waves have to touch the hammer, the anvil, the cochlea, and there's a touch that takes place,
one
right?
reason I asked you that, because I wanted to see if you was in tune.
Always a touch, though.
That's the only thing I asked. My next question would have been think of something outside of that.
But always that touch. Hearing, right, is a touch. Smelling, in order to smell, for example, if you bust open an orange, right, in order to smell, those particles are touching the nerve endings in your nostrils, which go to the brain and interpret it as smell. It smells sweet, this smells stank, this smells, etc. But it's always a sense of touch.
That's what you call application. That's application. That's application.
Yeah. Is 2030 beginning of a new epoch?
2030, the beginning of a new epoch? Well, for us, we know starting from 2000, right? Well, actually, before that, we know 9999 was when their time was up. Their time expired 9999. If you refer to such scrolls as the Millennium Book, right? Millennium Book Part 1 and 2, Bible goes into detail about 9999 and how they had a meeting with their overlords. Mount Shasta, right? Also Giza in Egypt, right? And it was told to them back then that they would get no extension.
No extension.
Right? And then, right, you recall, what does this look like? An obelisk, right? The one in DC, this was their antenna that aligned with the Pleiades star system, right? And